So,
All right. Namaste and welcome everyone
Ankur,
for
I have a,
today's webinar about the Friends of HUA.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I was wondering, there are so few people in attendance. Why not we elevate everybody into a panelist and have a conversation?
Okay. I'll invite people to join as panelists. You have to accept that promotion. Please do. You'll be seeing it in your screen. And then please do turn on your camera once you join as a panelist if you choose to.
Namaste Ankur ji, Namaste Kalyan ji.
Namaste, namaste.
Namaste, Janati ji.
Yeah, the Thursday evenings that HUA, Friends of HUA call, sometimes I always end up having conflicts on Thursday evenings.
That's fine, Jayanti. So let's talk about what is Friends of HUA, and everybody is welcome to join. Accept the panelist invitation and come on board, and please turn on your camera so we can see you. So we can have a discussion about it. Okay, please
I saw so few people decline. I'm going to
decline.
resend it again. It's okay. And then as you get on, please do turn on your camera.
Okay, so I mean, I assume those of you, Ankur, please keep inviting people to join as panelists. I mean, if they are
Namaste,
declining,
Ankurji.
namaste, please. If they are declining to participate, that's okay. Okay, that's fine, no problem. You can listen, but my recommendation is please do. Whenever you feel it's appropriate for you to join, you can accept the invitation and join. Okay. So I would like to maybe start this conversation with a brief, maybe a statement of what is our conception of Friends of HUA. What is our conception of Friends of HUA? Okay, what do we mean by it? What do we what is the motivation behind it? Why do we think we need an organization structure called Friends of HUA? And maybe down the line, I may share a couple of slides to illustrate it better. Okay, so by way of introduction, my name is Kalyan Vishwanathan. I am the president of Hindu University of America, and I have been in this role for the last about 6.5 years. And let me introduce my colleague, Esther Dhanraj. Esther, you had to turn on your camera. So Esther is currently serving as the Director of Advancement at Hindu University of America, and she and Ankur, who is a Director of Community Outreach. We are all working on creating this Friends of HUA network. So Esther, are you able to turn on your camera?
Just give me a minute. I'll turn it on.
All right. So in our conception, Friends of HUA is a network of chapters in various cities in North America. For example, there could be a Friends of HUA Los Angeles chapter, a Friends of HUA Washington, D.C. chapter, Friends of HUA Chicago chapter, and so on. And the chapter creates a kind of a local presence for HUA. They may not have a facility. There is no campus locally, but they can create certain kinds of activities locally in each city. And the goals, what are the goals of this Friends of HUA chapter network? The first goal is to expand the awareness of Hindu University of America locally. Now, even though HUA has been very active in the last 6 years, surprisingly, the penetration of this university in the consciousness of the Hindus in North America is still pretty fragile. A lot of people in a lot of organizations in many parts of the US, if you ask them, have you heard about Hindu University of America? They would say, no, we never heard of it. Okay, never heard of it. And we are doing what we can by way of digital advertising, digital promotion. But unless there is some sort of local footprint, local engagement, and local activity that creates some sort of engagement with the communities, the awareness of this universities will continue to be limited. So that's the first commitment of a Friends of HUA chapter: expand awareness. Now, under expanding awareness, I would add a second sub-commitment, and that is to network with various Hindu organizations. Now, you all know that the Hindu community is a very fragmented community. It's very divided. Our capacity for division and fragmentation within the larger umbrella of Sanatana Dharma is legendary. Okay. And so we have lots of organizations. We have linguistic organizations. There are Gujarati associations, Maharashtra mandals, Telugu associations, Tamil Sangams, Bengali associations, and so on. So you get this, and then you get the Hindu American Foundation, Kona, Ekal, Seva, HSS, so many organizations. Part of awareness creation, expansion of HUA's footprint will necessarily involve networking with these organizations locally in each city. It could take the form of a local, say, an event where all the organizations are represented, like a Hindu Sangathan Divas, for example. And we can be very creative about this. So the networking and awareness creation, building partnerships, creating ways of engaging with partner organizations, affiliations, etc., affiliated organizations will be part of this number one commitment, which is awareness, expansion of the awareness of Hindu University of America. That's number one. Number two is expansion of enrollment into Hindu University of America. Namaste. Expansion of enrollment and registrations into HUA's courses and programs of study. Now, clearly, becoming aware is a necessary step before one enrolls into a course or takes a course or enrolls into a program of study. Now, to enroll into a program of study or register into a course at HUA is a further climb, a mountain climb. People have to resolve many questions in their own mind. For example, why should I study? Where should I take a course? What's the relevance? What's the value? What will I get out of it? I don't have time. There are so many considerations that get in the way of actually taking a course at HUA. Let me ask you, how many of you in this call have actually taken a course at HUA? Can you please say yes or no in the chat? Raise
Yes.
or raise your hands if you have taken a course. Okay. So Galaxy S24 Ultra is saying yes. Can you please change your name, please? Very much.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Or you can type, so if you've never taken a course, that's one of the first things, you should take a course at HUA. Because unless you take a course, right, a clear understanding of the value of Hindu University of America will not emerge. It'll kind of remain vague, and people will be left wondering, why should I take this course? Why should I study here? What's the point? What will I get out of it? What value could it possibly add for me in my life? Okay. So one has to cross that barrier, the barrier of credibility, of relevance, of value, before one actually commits to taking a course or registering into a program, enrolling into a program of study. So that's the second. The Friends of HUA chapters will be a local presence in various cities where they will actively promote enrollments and registrations into the programs and courses of Hindu University of America. That's the second goal, purpose of the Friends of HUA chapter. The third goal is that the Friends of HUA chapters will be able to support HUA financially by raising money locally. It's very critical. No university in the contemporary world survives on student fees alone. And most universities either have a huge influx of funds from state governments or from endowments or from other sources of income. And to sustain HUA across many, many years into the future and many generations into the future, we'll have to ensure the financial viability of this university today and into the future. We have to continually stay ahead of this, what we call this hare and tortoise race. Hare being the expenses and the tortoise being the income. So, we have to win this race, not just once in a while, but every year, in order to sustain the university. So those are the three goals. Okay, the expansion of awareness, number one, expansion of enrollments and registrations, two, and fundraising and financial contribution, number three. These are the goals of Friends of HUA. Now, in order to accomplish this, the Friends of HUA chapters, we anticipate, will engage in a variety of activities. Okay. Now, before I go into that, I would like to now invite Estherji to say a few words about, and I set her up with a question. So, Estherji, you envision the Friends of HUA chapter network as being part of a movement. Okay, part of a movement. So what do you mean by a movement, and why do you think it is a movement?
Yeah, first of all, namaste everybody. My name is Esther Dhanraj and I am the Director of Advancement at Hindu University. Advancement is a very interesting word. I'll get to that in a minute. But the Friends of HUA chapter network, if I were to define it in just a sentence, I would put it as a grassroots civilizational movement, not just any movement. It's a civilizational movement, and it is composed of individuals who believe that Hindu education, Hindu studies is important as an academic pursuit in the modern world. So it is a civilizational movement composed of individuals like you and me, like all of us here. And it includes parents, students, teachers, professionals, scholars, and seekers. And anyone who feels the responsibility to support it, sustain it, strengthen it, I'm talking about the Hindu studies ecosystem. Anybody who has the burden of supporting it is part of this movement. So, Hindu University of America has, as of date, emerged as a pioneer institution in the West in providing academic foundation for Hindu knowledge systems, for creating a foundation for Hindu knowledge systems here in the West. And over the past 6 years of its revival journey, which began in 2019, HUA has grown steadily, and it has, why I call it has grown steadily is every year you see we are hitting a milestone. We are adding something new to HUA in terms of courses, academic programs, and we've acquired a new college, California College of Ayurveda, which is a giant leap, I would say, towards its vision and mission. It has been increasing its student based steadily, and it's actually building a foundation for a truly global institution rooted in Sanatan values and Sanatana Dharma education. Now, see, in a typical university, okay, in a traditional university, the Department of Advancement and Outreach, which is headed by Ankur Patel here, our host. Any traditional university has all these offices: advancement, outreach, and admissions. Of course, other important offices like admissions and enrollments, all that. But advancement and outreach is uh, office which is working towards the stability of the university in terms of its partnerships with organizations, in terms of funding, stability, financial stability. In a typical university, all these are these two departments work within closed networks. But HUA is not just any university, I would say. Why would I say that? It offers the same kind of education like other universities, but why am I saying that it is not like any other university? The reason is what HUA offers is Hindu studies. And where we are today is we are trying to create not just space for Hindu studies in the modern academic world, but we are trying to awaken the very need for it among Hindus themselves. So you see how we are different. We are not just offering education like other universities. We are even we are awakening. There is the need, but we are pointing the Hindus towards that need. That is what we are basically creating right now with Hindu University, parallelly along with offering education through its various academic and community education division courses. So to do this, if we are to awaken the need for Hindu studies in the academic world in the West, we can't do it sitting in some remote corners, scattered like we are right now. Our staff is entirely scattered across the United States. We can't do it from wherever we are. And this is where we need grassroots help and support like all of you. So this is where the need for Friends of HUA comes. And this is why I call it is a movement, and it is not just any movement, it is a civilizational movement. Kalyanji, if that answers your question.
Great, excellent. So I'm now gonna, add a little bit more, but I do invite others to participate by raising your hand. Okay, now how to raise your hand is there is a button at the bottom of your screen called React. Okay, now if you click on that React, there is a raise hand. You can raise your hand, and then we'll call on you, and then you can speak. Okay, now. So Esther made a very interesting point. She talked about awakening the need for Hindu studies amongst the Hindu community. and also amongst people who are not Hindus, who are interested, who have an oblique interest in understanding Hindu Dharma, what we call Sanatana Dharma. So, yeah. So, Raviji, I'll come to you in just a moment. I notice you raise your hand. Just a moment. Okay. So, in the modern conception of a university, the when I say modern, okay, the conception of a university that emerged from the European Enlightenment period, which resulted in the great universities of this world. Okay, and when I say great universities, I mean universities like Oxford and Cambridge in England, many German universities. Germany was in large measure the source of the modern conception of the university. They created it. Even England, copied the university model from Germany, and of course Harvard and Yale and Cambridge and Stanford and many others in the U.S. And if you go to India, the IITs, Jawaharlal Nehru University, many other, Madras University, Calcutta University, Bombay University, Delhi University, and so on. They all share a common model. Okay, and in that model, the study of religion is marginalized. The study of religion per se is marginalized. So, for example, right, in Harvard, if you go to Harvard University, alongside Harvard Business School, Harvard Law School, and Harvard Medical School, and so on, there is a Harvard Divinity School. Okay, it's not marginalized to the same degree. There's a Harvard Divinity School in Harvard. There is a Graduate Theological Union at UC Berkeley. There is a Union Theological Seminary at Columbia, opposite Columbia University. There is a Princeton Theological Seminary in the Princeton University campus, and so on. And in many cases, these theological spaces, schools of divinity, came long before the modern universities emerged. Okay. In contrast, in India, the conception of religious studies or theological studies or divinity schools never took root. It was, in fact, constitutionally kind of set aside as irrelevant for the progress of modernity. Okay. And this constitutes a massive gap in the Hindu consciousness. We've lost about 200 years when the traditional structures of Hindu learning, the gurukulams, the ashrams, and mutts, and so on, they progressively deteriorated, declined, and got marginalized. But an equivalent space in the form of a divinity school or a theological seminary, etc., never came into being, at least in the Hindu world. It is very much there in the Christian world or the Jewish world and so on, but we haven't embraced it. And this is what Esther really means when she says, we have a double responsibility, not only one of fulfilling existing demand for Hindu studies, but also more fundamentally creating a consciousness, an awareness that Hindu studies is important, that we should embrace it, we should study it, we should experience it. And that knowledge is fundamental to our civilizational capacity to transmit this Dharma across the generations. Merely building temples and worshipping is not sufficient for transmission across the generations. It may be sufficient to fulfill the first generation Hindus' experience in the US, where we're satisfied with puja and pravachan and kirtan and bhajan and so on, and festivals and so on. But the younger generation needs a more rigorous intellectual engagement with the spiritual and intellectual traditions of Sanatana Dharma, and that creation, that demand creation is part of our responsibility. Okay, that's what Esther really means when we have this double responsibility. Okay, very good. So now, Raviji, you have your hand up. I'd like to take a question from you. Please, over to you. You have to unmute yourself. Okay, you have to unmute yourself.
Yes, my name is Ravi Shankar, And I'm in the 7th decade plus of my life, lived in the US almost 50. And all of the comments that you make, I fully subscribe in terms of what you're doing. But I've also been teaching exactly for the same reasons you have done, except that I do it in a sense, as Esther would probably know, in the sense of Christian apologetics. Hindus also need apologetics guys to stand up with conviction to be in society. So I first overview comments of HUA on the several introduction classes that I kind of just stubbed my toe into. To me personally, because of where I am, they don't add value. But the objectives that you state as something that has to be taught in general to the masses, meaning the broad spectrum of the diaspora in the West of the Hindu population, I don't know if that is something that is manageable. Maybe you're biting off more than you can chew. Having the HUA to create centers of excellence where you're creating this, where people come to and join in and learn what they want in whatever sense of the term, for, in a sense, for their own edification or for their own self-improvement, but become people who are convicted of the Sanatana Dharma value systems and who are able to stand up in the face of the others. That part I agree. So what I observed was, it looks like HUA is trying to teach classes for its own sake without this coming through. So therefore it is, I mean, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just telling you based on 3 or 4 different versions of classes I attended and took away my own impressions, however marginal they might be. So the part about creating centers of excellence through local chapters or whatever with outreach seems to work. But do you need to compete with the academic side of creating a curriculum of classes to the broad population? Maybe you just need to figure out which one. These are just my opinions, okay? Take it or leave it. It doesn't matter. No offense taken, right? So the point is, it's not clear to me what HUA wants to achieve in trying to address this huge curriculum. It's like you have a huge menu, and whoever who does not have a path of what they need or what they are missing, they don't know till there is some other mentor or a guru who's teaching them what it is. Okay. And so that element, if that is the way in which you're going to create some outreaches, maybe that I can appreciate. But as it stands right now, I don't know if the university type approach of a broad curriculum thing works for me, or at least people like me. Okay. And these are the higher achieving intellectual, Western educated, including knowing the local Sanatana Dharma, Upanishads, and the value systems which we teach. Okay? So I'm just putting that out there and saying that was my impression listening to this.
Okay.
And yeah.
So let me, Raviji, so very good articulation, okay? And I will, I will respond to this in the following way, right? See, and I'll even, I'll extend an invitation to you also. See, I mean, if you look at the West today, right? The Western world, it is in the throes of a tremendous conflict. And the nature of the conflict is, if you would consider it carefully, is that on the one hand, there is a view that the modern Western university, and when I mean university, I mean universities like Columbia, Harvard, Stanford, and all the big name universities in the West, they have served the country very well, exceptionally well, and have been bastions of knowledge and innovation, knowledge creation, innovation, experimentation, and they've served this country and the world in general extraordinarily well. There is one view. And that view is being contested today by another view, which is these universities have become, they've gone too far. They have corrupted the social fabric. They become woke, and they've become kind of they have undermined the society, American society and culture and so on. Okay. Now, I'm saying that as a little bit of a background. Okay. And, the university model is itself under stress right now especially with the current government in place. What the future unfolds, we can't say. Okay. For the moment, we have committed to the university model. We've said that this model of having courses and programs of study is a very viable, respectable model, and we've situated a substantive curriculum at the university. Now, the invitation I would offer you, Ravi, in particular, right? I don't know what courses you have sampled at HUA so far. Have you actually taken a full course, or have you just attended some webinars? Please, you have to unmute yourself, Raviji. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. You see, since I do teach many of these things to my peers, again, you mentioned IITs and all of them. I do have lots of relationship with Harvard guys and MIT guys, all of them. So nothing new here that you're telling me. So the point I want to get at is the ones I sampled, since I do teach, for example, right now I'm doing curriculum on Bhagavad Gita. So I said, okay, let me pick out some classes on Bhagavad Gita. So I attended one or two where the focus was on learning Bhagavad Gita through Sanskrit. Okay. As an example, okay, which is beautiful, wonderful for those students who need that. But if I am going to be a person of conviction standing up against what you call the woke Western one, which I do, okay, very, very well, including at those institutes that you mentioned, because I do personalities there. So the question then becomes, it's not necessary. So some of these classes, in my mind, I'm not saying
no. So Raviji, see, see, different people have different needs, different wants.
So you're trying to address everything for everybody. That is
absolutely.
That is what I think. Maybe you should pick out those small chunks that are viable for the West, focus on that in offering classes. So the Indian attraction, especially those Indians who are motivated to join, Hindus, I mean by that, but who feel reluctant because it seems very orthodox in its approach in terms of demand. That is, for example, the classes were like it'll be 4 years, so 8 semesters of X, whatever that X is. So when I hear something like that, many of the people will drop off. That's what I'm trying to get at. So
understand. So Raviji, so see, I mean, it's completely understandable that an eight quarter or of 8-quarter exploration of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. In
as
fact,
an example,
it's not even 8, it's actually 16 quarters. Okay. 16 quarters of the Bhagavad Gita, Sanskritam through the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, it's a very deep exploration. Okay. And it's very systematic and very deep. And that kind of exploration may not be for everybody. And I do appreciate that. Okay. So therefore, see, I think what you will enjoy, I'll just share this with you. I am starting a class called Orientation to Hindu Studies. Today, actually, it's this evening, and it's the first session is this evening. See, in the Orientation to Hindu Studies, we explore we go back and forth between understanding the depth and range of Hindu thought on the one hand, okay, and on the other hand, the intersection with Hindu thought with the Western thought, with European thought on the other hand. And when I say intersection, I mean, how did Western thought, Western ideas come into India, and what kind of impact did they have on Hindu thought, for example? That is one dimension. at the same time, how did Hindu thought come to the West and how did it impact the West? That's another dimension, right? So that intersection and and when I say Western, I mean it's Western is not a single thing. Okay, there is Christian thought, there is Islamic thought, there is
It's Abrahamic thought.
Abrahamic thought, there
Yeah.
is Enlightenment thought, and so on, and Marxist thought. There are many different paradigms, each of which represents a particular orientation towards Hindus, the study of Hinduism, or the study of Hindus, Hindu culture, Hindu civilization, etc. So we will examine all that in the course orientation to Hindu studies, for example. Okay. And I think, for somebody like you, I would say that may probably be a much more relevant and appropriate course than taking a
It's
4-year.
relevant, but I address all of these in
Okay.
because I do participate with many of these interfaith stuff at the
Yeah.
higher levels and go through all of these. So I agree. Your
Okay.
objectives and things you're doing are
Okay.
phenomenal, and I applaud that.
Okay.
But I'm just trying to relate to,
Okay.
why don't we make it into bite-sized chunks that people can glom onto and
Okay.
then support and then grow that way.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. But everything you do, perfectly fine, because it fits the need, but
Mhm.
too big of an ocean to swim in.
All right. We've bitten off a big ocean.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'll say, somebody has brought up Kautilya and said, "Oh, I thought this was about Kautilya." No, see, listen, this is about friends of HUA. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I will say one thing to connect Kautilya with this friends of HUA and the university discussion. In the Arthashastra, Kautilya, describes a leader as a Dirga Dura Drishta. Dirga Dura Drishta.
Yeah.
You know what that means? Dirga Dura Drishta. It means somebody
With a long distance vision.
long range vision, long distance, long standing, steady, sort of unshakable vision. Vision. Drishta. Drishti means vision. A long range vision. Okay. Now, this, I have spent a good number of years in the corporate world in America. Okay. And I know to what extent leadership, what is the range of vision of leadership in America today? Okay. So, if you look at political leadership, it's the next election. How do I somehow get to the next election? 2 years, 4 years. Corporate America operates on a quarter by quarter schedule. And what does Kautilya mean by Dirga Dura Drishti? What is long range vision? How long is long according to Kautilya? Does anybody know?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. I was reading chat comments here. Sorry.
I am asking, the question I'm asking is, according to Kautilya, how far sighted a leader has to be far-sighted. I mean, in his definition, Chanakya's definition. Does anybody know? Give me an answer you can type it in the chat window or you can say it aloud. How long, according to Chanakya, is a long-range vision? How long is it?
Infinite.
Len?
Infinite. Yes.
No, not infinite is too long. Okay, it's too long. Kautilya has a perspective on this. Okay, so somebody else, infinite. Okay, anybody else can type something. Type anything. Okay, type anything. Yeah, 1,000 years. Okay, Esther is saying 1,000 years. Esther should not answer questions. Okay, should allow the others to answer.
Yeah, I wanted you to get to the point soon.
Oh, you're getting impatient, huh?
Multiple
No.
generations, let's say
Time.
7 generations, 150 years.
Yeah. Well, Kautilya in fact says, great leaders set in motion ideas that last 1,000 years. and they build structures, build institutional structures and frameworks that survive, that ripple across the generations for 1,000 years. And this was an extraordinary perspective. I don't think any modern management or leadership book ever talks in this kind of millennial, uh, range of vision. However, when I first heard about it and I went back and started looking at this, we built structures in Hinduism, in Sanatana Dharma, we built structures that have lasted thousands of years. My father was born in a small village near Tanjavur in Tamil Nadu, and there's a big temple there, a Brigadishwara temple, very close to my father's village. The temple is more than 1,000 years old. And, the last time I visited that temple, I was wandering around the temple and I asked myself, did the people who built this temple intend for it to last 1,000 years? I mean, did they intentionally set out to build a structure that will stand for 1,000 years? Did they? In fact, if you experience a structure like this, it'll probably last several thousand years. It's not just 1,000 years. It'll go on and on. Similarly, if I go to the Shankaracharya's mutt in Kanchi and Sringeri and Puri and Dwarka and so on, and Jyotirmata and so on, but they've been around for more than 1,000 years, few hundred years. Even Catholicism, Christianity has been around more than 2,000 years now. So there is a way of building things, of imagining possibilities that last 1,000 years. And when you work with a range of vision for 1,000 years, it becomes an entirely different proposition. How do you build the building? How do you create the building blocks? How do you create the small little, elements and components of a institution that can give it a life of well over 1,000 years? And if you move into the realm of universities, Harvard has been around for 400 years, more than 400 years, or almost 400 years. Oxford is approaching 1,000 years. Nalanda and Takshashila lived for 1,000 years, 1,200 years, right? So, we are imagining such a possibility. We are imagining, and we're not imagining it casually. We are imagining it after, deep study of these texts, and we are imagining 1,000-year possibility, knowing full well that many generations will have to participate in this, in building a university. A university is not built in one generation. So this long-range vision is a critical component of HUA's vision, and naturally, we want the Friends of HUA chapters to imbibe that vision as well. Okay, so that's a brief response to that. I'd like to take some more questions. So Kumuji, I'm open to hearing from you, but please don't give us advice, because you have a tendency to advise us. I don't want to hear any advice, please. So take the floor and share what you want to share.
Do you have a page on your website for the Friends of HUA, the different chapters that are in existence with contact information?
It's coming. We are working on it. We'll slowly build that whole section out. Yeah, we are working on it. We're going to release it this upcoming weekend, and slowly it'll start populating the different pages and so on. It's coming. Yeah. So let me open the floor for some more questions from any of the members in the audience. Lian, you have a question. Lian,
Yes,
please.
I am thoroughly enjoying this talk. And I think one thing I learned about attending meetings at work, church, etc., is that everybody's opinion is important.
Yeah.
And what everyone has said has been important. Let me get to the point. I've had people in my family go to all the schools you've mentioned. MIT, Harvard, Oxford. I chose to go to Iowa State, which was a predominantly Black school, a white school institution. I'm an agriculturalist. And then I went to a predominantly Black school in Alabama. And the two experiences were completely different, although I love both experiences. I think what you might want to do, I suggest, is say, what do you want your school to do, right? In the mission, do you want people to just be better citizens? Do you want them to go out and be able to get really good jobs? Of course, universities all want this, but there's something in a specialty that says, okay, this is what I want. So just my question is, what does Hindu University of America actually want its students to provide to the community?
That's fantastic. Such a wonderful, insightful question. And I take it, Leanne, I mean, could you turn on your video camera? Is it possible so we could actually see you?
Well, I'm kind of
Okay,
in
not
the
possible.
corner at work.
Okay,
I'm
no
doing
problem.
something and not supposed to be doing something else, but I'm listening more than anything else.
All right. So great. So I mean, this is such such an important and insightful question, Leanne, first of all. Okay. So, before we go into what Hindu University of America itself aspires to provide in the world, okay, before I speak about that, right, I think it's important to speak about what does Hinduism provide for the world, and what does Hindu Dharma provide for the world. And the operative word here is the word Dharma, Dharma, Dharma. And, the Hinduism is the outsider's word for the family of traditions, the civilizational culture of what the insiders call Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma. Okay, and Sanatana means timeless. Timeless, beyond time, that which is beyond time, that which has no beginning and no end. It has no birth and no death. It's eternal. It's timeless. That is Sanatana. And Dharma is the most important word here. What is this word called Dharma? In fact, you could say the entire education at Hindu University of America is an unfolding of this idea called Dharma. What is this Dharma? Today Dharma is associated largely with Buddhism because Buddhism has made it a big popular word. But its roots are in Hinduism. What is Dharma? Well, Dharma is what sustains life on the planet. It's what sustains the cosmos. It is what sustains communities and families. Sustainability. In Sanskrit, we say dharayati iti dharma. That which sustains is dharma. It's a definitional statement. What does sustenance mean? Today, if you go to United Nations, they talk about United Nations Development Program or principles, sustainability principles and so on. Sustainability is at the heart of Dharma. What is this sustainability? Well, it's a sustainability of families, sustainability of individuals, sustainability of cultures, of traditions, of communities, sustainability of cities, sustainability of ecosystems, sustainability of the planet, sustainability of future generations, sustainability of institutions, sustainability of democracy, sustainability of societies. Now, in this sustainability, the law of sustainability, to sustain anything, we have to recognize that there has to be a great and dynamic balance between a lot of apparently contradictory powers and forces, apparently conflicting interests and concerns. And Dharma is what brings balance and order where there is a propensity for conflict, of of disintegration, of collapse. When in fact, we will recognize what dharma means much better if we talk about what is not dharma, what is adharma. Okay, so adharma, let me give you some examples of adharma. When we destroy the future generations by consuming what is due to them and consuming it in our lifetime, and let the future generations put them at risk, that is adharma, that is not sustainable. It is the absence of dharma. Conflict and war is adharmic. Inequality is adharmic. When there is inequality, when there is rampant inequality in the world, when a small few proportion of the population aggrandizes the income and wealth, a major share of the income and wealth of the world, rendering other peoples, a vast majority of the people, either poor or so barely surviving and struggling, that is adharma. Okay, when healthcare doesn't work, that is adharma. Healthcare systems doesn't work and it exploits people, that is adharma. When democracy fails to work and it starts, instead of serving the people, it starts serving special interests, that is adharma, the lack of dharma, the absence of dharma. When we pollute the planet and we intentionally, deliberately cause the destruction of ecosystems, that is adharma, the absence of dharma. So I can go on and on. Okay, so the idea of dharma is something that can be applied in many, 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 many disciplines, from political science to economics to sociology to psychology, the well-being, the mental well-being, the equilibrium of a human being, emotional stability, a sense of purpose, living a fulfilled life, being happy in life. That is dharma. And being unhappy and depressed and addicted, and taking to drugs and so on, that is adharma. So, in other words, right, the what is dharma is at the heart of this university, Hindu University of America, and the unfolding of the idea of dharma in a world where people are increasingly struggling in an environment that seems to uh, increasingly support adharmic ideas and principles. That, I would say, is the mission of Hindu University of America. Okay, so that is just one way of articulating the mission of Hindu University of America. Leon, is that, I want to hear from you. What did you hear in what I said? Is that satisfactory? Anything you want to add to this?
Yes, that's very satisfactory. But if you're trying to establish it in the Western country,
Yeah,
to get a broader audience,
Yeah.
you would have to give them something they could immediately understand,
yeah,
because most people are not as enlightened. You're talking about possibly a population of 17, 18, 16, 17, 18-year-olds who in America have never heard of Dharma.
that's right.
So I feel like you got to come at them with something that they can swing the bat immediately, right? Like maybe even offering how does a gaming course or concentration in relation to Dharma, like
Yeah.
teaching principles. But I totally got it.
Yeah.
I totally got it. And I'm very pleased with that. And I feel like that's how I live. But for those younger people, as you were saying, you got to break it down to something that they get, and not only get, but you can sustain their interest. But
Right.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it, and I will continue to support you in any way I can.
Terrific, Leon. Okay,
Thank
do,
you.
do get in touch with us, okay? Because you are addressing a very, very important principle here. Okay, so in Hindu thought, dharma is eternal. It is sanatana. It is timeless, and it was articulated a long time ago. It was articulated in a language structure that belonged to an ancient world, a pre-Christian, pre-Abrahamic, many thousands of years ago. It was articulated in those texts, right? Now, how to interpret those principles, those ideas in a language that is accessible to the modern world, to the contemporary world. And when I say contemporary, contemporary is also a moving target. What was contemporary
Yes.
20 years ago is way obsolete today, right?
Yes.
And what is contemporary today, in a decade, who knows who will adhere to that language, right? So this challenge of interpretation, of interpreting timeless principles in a contemporary paradigm, in a contemporary language, in a contemporary ontology, is a challenge that we believe Hindu University of America must meet. And if we for a moment say we are not yet meeting that, yeah, I would agree. We are not yet meeting that. We are right now in an early phase of development, and we are trying to recover the knowledge systems of Hindu thought, that we lost. And Lian, one thing that you probably will understand is, more than 200 years, nearly 300 years of colonization by the British in India really marginalized uh, the traditions and culture and the native thought of India. And for most Hindus, it became inaccessible. A lot of us who came to America, for example, we came here wanting to participate in the opportunities and possibilities of America. And for personally, I've been here since 1992, and I'm very dismayed by where America is going, and very troubled by it. So let that be for a moment, okay? But what I'm saying is the task of reinterpreting, rearticulating that dharma, which is Sanatana, which is timeless, in a modern contemporary language, so that it is accessible to a moving target of young 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds, etc., as you pointed out, is a very critical task of our time. And anything anybody can contribute and bring to bear on this topic would be a fantastic opportunity for all of us. And you would be being a true friend of HUA if you participated in something like that. Okay, so let me pause there. Let me open it up. Any other thoughts from anybody? Saravanan Kasturi is here from Seattle. Anything you'd like to say, Saravananji?
Oh, thank you. This discussion has been enlightening, to the least, but very very fulfilling intellectually for me. And I totally agree with the intent and content of what Liam was trying to convey and what you are. I think she really got to the critical aspect of how to get the young minds to be excited about learning and benefit for the longer term in the life, where everyone is concerned about what is in it for me tomorrow or now.
Right.
And it's just not only the 17 and 18-year-olds that she mentioned, but I feel working with, I'm in a small business in the healthcare, and anybody who is coming to work, any patient who's coming for a benefit, any insurer who is trying to negotiate something, they all are focused on what's in it me now and tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
And in a world which is swimming in the sewage of tomorrow and today, how do we give them a perspective of Dharma, which is eternal?
Yeah.
That's the challenge of the generation of for today and tomorrow. I really do not have an answer, but anything I can learn, I think that I could apply across multiple things in my own life and also for the HUA. But I will wholeheartedly support what you do. Another thing I want to pass on is someone who feels their cup is full, you can never add on to that. If they feel that I know everything, you can never teach them anything.
Right.
In fact, I remember in Kautilya, he said, like, you need to think that you are a cup and just turn your head down and empty your cup, and then you can fill more with the new things. So that's also, so people, and that's very common in the community, especially accomplished community. They think that they know everything.
Right,
and
right.
and I'm no exception. In fact, I thought the same way till I took your class on orientation to Hindu studies.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I was humbled learning from you and contents of the thing you did, and it just I felt like my eyes are open. I want to thank you for being my guru in that sense.
No, you're welcome. I'm just sharing. We're all sharing our understanding and knowledge, right? So Saravanaji, thank you for that heartfelt acknowledgement and endorsement, right? We really, really appreciate it. That ultimately, what what supports the university is our students like you who have stepped into the university's curriculum and have been able to find tremendous value in the curriculum, regardless of what stage of life you are in. And Hinduism, because of its rather extraordinary and expansive vision of Dharma, it addresses people in many, many different walks of life, in many, many stages of their existence, the young, the old, the middle, young couples, parents, first-time parents. I mean, it can speak to in so many languages. And if we have a vast curriculum today, we have more than 250 courses, the reason is there are so many interests and so many different ways of approaching and understanding, so many different entry points into this curriculum. So now I'll also say one thing, okay, the what's in it for me question. What is in it for me? What will I get out of it? This is perhaps one of the great, we can say, consequences of a typical modern education. A contemporary modern Western education is that people come out of college much more concerned generally about what they can get out of society. What can I get out of society? What can I carve out for myself? How can I? Of course, it starts with survival. And much less interested in the question, what is my contribution going to be? How can I contribute? How can I make a difference in the world? How can I make this world a better place? Even though many, many universities have this, they have this kind of, idealistic vision for themselves. We teach our students to make the world a better place. Okay. But somewhere between being extremely self-interested, taking care of my own career, our own careers, our own life, our own sustenance in life, and making a real and genuine, lasting, sustainable contribution to the world around us, that balance gets disrupted on one side or the other, okay? And if it gets too unbalanced on the side of wanting to contribute something, it results in the neglect of the self. People feel increasingly bitter or unhappy if they are contributing all the time and they don't take care of themselves. But also being extremely self-centered and taking care of oneself all the time, never being concerned about the public good, right? This balance between the personal good and the public good, that's at the heart of Dharma. Okay, so let's take one more share. We've passed the time, but does anybody else want to say? Esther, you want to add anything? Saravananji has raised his hand again. Okay.
I want to ask us to reflect on one other thing. Like, if our goal is also to sustain for multi-generations, and then one of the places we want to do is not only the people of you are in my age, but young children.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to involve the children in this discussion so that we can get how they feel? Sometimes it's like planning for somebody who who are not in the process. Like, how do we get to them? What does it mean? And what have other systems and other universities have been, or other cultures have been successful in able to recruit young children to do those things? How can we learn from those experiences so we have their voice in the whole process?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, Saranji. Really, I mean, without creating mechanisms for engaging the younger generation and enabling them to become real, authentic stakeholders in this university, okay, and it's a process, see, it's not going to happen overnight. The process of the younger generation slowly embracing the university and making it their own is a critical part of a sustainable journey. And so, Saravanaji, you're absolutely on target. We are working on many different fronts to enable that. I mean, and it is, it's not easy because the West frames non-Western cultures as obsolete or irrelevant. Primitive, backward, and young people going through a modern schooling system, educational system in the West, they imbibe the idea that Hinduism, Hindu thought, etc., are ancient and therefore necessarily not relevant for today. They're obsolete, and that's the greatest barrier that we have to overcome in engaging the younger generation. But it's an excellent point, Sharonji. We've gone for a little bit more than an hour. Ankur, can you put the orientation to Hindu Studies course in the chat window, please, for any of you? I welcome everybody to join this course. It's a fantastic place to engage in these discussions ongoingly. And then, Esther, you want to add anything to close out the webinar, please?
Just one question to Len. Is that how you pronounce it, Len?
Lian.
Yes.
Okay, Len.
Lenn. Okay, great. So have you taken any courses with HUA?
Not as of yet, but I was considering. I have multiple degrees, so I am more at the point of bettering my life. I have been a part of a faith for my entire life, and I lived in Los Angeles. I'm a caregiver now for my parents, so I don't have a lot of time to sit for a class. That's the only reason why. But I could offer, I've been exposed to a lot of nonprofits, how they work. My brother-in-law has overseen a national organization across America. So I know how to delve into small pockets of people and bring them out and become part of an organization. But it takes methodical planning. It's not something that happens overnight, and you have to grow it. But you also have to engage, I would say, everybody, regardless of faith, regardless of race, regardless of sexuality. In America, if you depend on the funds, you can't be picky. I mean, you don't want, of course, people with bad, I won't get into that, but I would say off the bat is look at everybody, Hindu, non-Hindu, Catholic, Jewish, because you know what? Parents now, it's not the America of old. Now Catholic parents are sending their children to Jewish academies and like back and forth. So my thing is utilize everyone and everyone's skill. And that is what I would say. Broaden your horizons as far as it can go.
Absolutely, yeah. So Hindu studies are not only, for the protection of Hindus or protecting the Hindus that have alienated from their roots, but our president was just mentioning the dharmic worldview, the holistic, the pluralistic, ecologically conscious and spiritually grounded wisdom has immense value to offer to our world. And how we are grappling with polarization and meaninglessness. So Sanatana Dharma has so much of value to give to the world without, not as a religion, but as a collective consciousness
Yes. And you
that can
said
do tremendous
civilization.
good to the planet. So
Yes.
that is why academic engagement with Hinduism becomes, I wouldn't call Hinduism, with the Sanatan wisdom becomes very important. And it can be done only when we invest in cultivating the new generation of scholars and leaders and, thought leaders, basically.
Well, I totally agree. And as I said, I think there's one thing about this country, there's room for growth for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So you're on the right track. You all are on the right track.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
terrific. Thank you. Over to you, Ankur. I think we can close out. If you want to say anything, you can close out the webinar.
All right. Yes, it was great to have this conversation. We have weekly meetings Thursday. If you'd like to join the Friends of HUA, connect to your local chapter, help us connect locally, which is what we're trying to do, as Gayanji mentioned. We'll be having, we'll keep this going, right? We're on this 1,000-year mission. One webinar on a Saturday is just one point in time. We'll have lots more to do. Take the courses. We're going to have our leadership retreat. Invite us. Let us know if you know a group of people or temple leaders or activists or whoever it is that might be interested in conversation. Gayanji is willing to talk, so is Esserji, so am I. All of us are, and that's what this is and what we're building with the Friends of HUA. So thank you everyone for joining. Tomorrow's webinar is on Kautilya's Arthashastras. We do a lot of webinars, again, trying to offer what we can to benefit the community. Yes, Lakshmikanji, thank you to everyone. And glad that you enjoyed your first time with us, and hopefully many more in the future. All right. Yeah, okay.
Chandrasekharanji, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. And namaste.
Namaste. Thank you. Bye-bye.